Hello everyone, welcome back to the Students and Skeptics podcast. Today we have some special guests. We have
Georgie and Hannah.
and we also have
Phil.
over here.
Phil.
So today we're going to be discussing idealism versus realism. Our team over here is going to be arguing for realism, and this team over here is going to be arguing for idealism. Okay, so I'll say to kick things off, to start with direct realism, this is essentially a belief about the perception of reality, where it's like we experience things directly as they are.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I'll take it away.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, direct realism is basically saying there is a mind-independent world, and like all the objects that exist, they exist. No, right. Well, pause. mind independently. If we were to cease to exist, then objects would still be in existence, and we would still have a world, even though we're not in it.
And like our perception of objects is like exactly how they are.
Yes.
We have a direct perception of them.
Seems like a pretty silly belief to me.
Go on, elaborate.
I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, you probably heard the colour analogy. Like when you're looking at something, say that glass of milk over there, like I would say that's white, and you say that's white. And like I think we all say it's white, but there's no guarantee that we see the same actual colour there. And so I think there's a lot of subjectivity across humans on what they perceive. People describe things in different ways, and there's no guarantee that we all see things the same way. So
But
I don't actually agree with
things
that.
like that, like
you've got to agree with it.
I know, yeah, but like I just don't agree with that because
You have to.
It's like a certain like wavelength.
Yeah.
Of,
No,
like,
but even the wavelength could be perceived differently. You have different eyes to me,
how can
and a different brain to me,
the wavelength be perceived different?
because you have different eyes.
But I
Yeah,
feel like with certain
exactly.
things like that though, is it not like sort of scientifically proven? Like we have the same cell like color receptors in our eyes, and like it's the same wavelength. So why would it be different?
I mean, I wouldn't say my eyes are identical to your eyes. Like I have the same type of cells at the back of my eyes as you. I don't have a similar brain to you.
Well, our eyes have the same biological
We
structure.
have a
With the
different number
same.
of like cones and
Exactly.
and the other thing. I can't remember what the
People
other
have a
thing
different
is,
number of what's the other one?
Like the
light and
color
dark.
and light receptors.
Yeah.
but- yeah.
Okay, well, could you not also say that like the shared experience of like the perception of this color points towards?
Involuntary nature of perception. The
But
fact
it's-
that you can both verify that that is a glass of milk, does that
Sure.
not show that this does exist independently of you guys?
Yeah, but I think that would be direct realism. Like you could say, yeah, sure, it exists, but it's not like we're perceiving it exactly as it is, because we can still perceive it in different ways. So, like
So you're
direct
saying
realism-
perceptual variation.
Yeah,
Are you saying why that's an issue? But you're
it's
like,
an issue for direct realism.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if
It's
we-
not an issue for indirect realism. I think.
It's not.
Right. Well, I mean, although direct realism is sort of where it started, I think a lot of people agree, and I think the more convincing argument is for indirect realism, which is sort of like there's a perception of veil
Veil of perception.
veil of perception gap between like the objective reality and the concepts we have in our mind. So like there is an objective truth out there, but we can't like perceive it directly.
So there's an intermediary sensator in which we don't process it directly. There's another veil, so we don't actually see it.
And I could explain like the possible differences there could be like with the sensory thing.
Yeah. That
Like
explains
there
a lot
is
of
an objective
perceptive
truth,
variation.
but it's just up to our perception of those different things, which is where the discrepancy might be.
There was something about maths, which Benji. So I can't remember.
Wait, sorry,
I can't
are
remember.
you going to respond to that?
I mean,
I
I guess
Back on the maths.
a similarity in psychology, as in like shared experience, could provide evidence for like an objective reality. But I still think, like, if you had some kind of Kant style, like, transcendental idealism, which is like, I have the same, my mind, we all have minds, right, which are similar. And so our minds have similar, like, structures. And so things like cause and effect, or like distinction between objects, or mathematics, like geometry, are like, rather than being aspects of reality, like they're structures of the mind. And so we experience reality, and then we apply these structures of the mind to reality, and so we experience it in a similar way. And that's why there's shared experience. But that's just because we have similar minds, not because the reality is similar. So I think you can still have like
So what do you think that these like concepts and stuff aren't actually related to reality?
more like you. I'm not guaranteeing this is true. I'm saying you could argue that the similarity in like perception could just be down to like a similarity in mind rather than a similarity in nature, reality.
Okay, but do you not think that like even though these truths, okay, we can't like 100% verify that it's the actual objective truth. Do you not think like the flourishing or the fact that they like create the basis for physics and like language and all this stuff, the fact that it works so well and has worked so well, it sort of implies that it's related to an objective truth.
What do you mean by that? As in, like,
Okay, we have the laws of physics, right? When we have our perceptions of like reality, we can't directly interact with it. So these laws, whilst they're based on our perceptions, like, okay, it's not, we don't know for certain it's 100% true, but the fact that they work and like we built rockets and all this stuff based off of those laws sort of implies that these laws contain like the objective truth.
so give me an example of like a law of physics that you might like use to back up that statement. Like, could you give me an example?
Laws of gravity.
So could you not argue that like a law of gravity is a structure of the mind, as in like when we see things move towards masses that are closer, we apply like this
It's a structure
of it as a structure of our mind.
It's a
rather
structure
than
of the
structure
mind.
of reality.
Purely because any like propositions that we make, they have to be like through our mind as a predicate of what they actually are. Like that's not something it's just like something intrinsic to how we perceive things. It's not like an actual problem with the law itself.
No, but I think the point really is reality might not actually be the way you describe it, like the way the laws of physics describe it. It might actually be the case that reality isn't that way and we all perceive it like it is that way because we all have similar minds. And so you can still have like a united theory of physics because we all have similar minds based on these like structures of the mind that kind of cause them. And reality not actually be that way. So like I don't think we can argue there's not an objective reality, but
Do you not think it's more likely that the fact that these laws work and it points towards the objective truth instead of just like a shared mind?
I don't know why does it point towards an objective truth?
But
Because
why
they
doesn't it though?
because they work so well.
But saying, okay, but could they not work well? Could they not work well with the same mind kind of Kant style transcendental idealism? Could they still not work? Because even though like reality isn't actually that way, we perceive it that way, and then when we do all these things like build rockets with it, we're still perceiving it that way. And so it's still
I feel like we're kind of arguing the same thing actually.
Right.
I don't really think so.
I'm not 100% on that.
We're not.
I mean, I think it's an inference to say, just as it's an inference to say these are structures of the mind, it's also an inference to say it's an aspect of reality. Like you can't say one and have that as evidence over the other. Like it's just I think it's as equal to believing one as it is.
I mean, I wasn't claiming it to be evidence. I was just saying like this is the most likely explanation.
I think it's the most practical, but I don't think it's the most likely. I'll disagree with that.
What about Occam's razor, which says
Well, I think idealism is more parsimonious than realism.
So what?
Parsimonious? Like Occam's razor, parsimony?
I don't actually know what comes razor. Can you
it's
somebody explain?
Do you wanna-
oh okay, oh thanks. It's if you have two opposing theories, it's the theory with the least amount of hypothesis and the least amount of premises and with equal explanatory power. You would take the one with the fewer premises because it's easier to understand.
That's what parsimonious means.
How does the razor get into that?
Well, it's
Because
just,
you
it's just like
raise off
Occam's
all of
razor.
the like.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I mean, I would argue the ontology of idealism is smaller than the ontology of realism. Because you
Why?
believe in more things under realism. I just have to believe in minds and similarity in our minds and some kind of weak like objective reality. But you actually have to believe in like objective reality with all these facts attached on top of it. And so I'd say idealism believes in less stuff, like has a lower ontology than realism does. So I'd argue Occam's razor actually supports our point.
Would you not say that like most people are sort of naturally inclined towards realism or indirect realism?
Yeah,
Do you not think
agree,
that kind of points towards something maybe?
No.
Like this like common sense of perception. Like no one actually thinks that this objective reality doesn't exist.
That sounds like Bolverism.
These terms, bro.
I mean, explaining why people are likely to believe something isn't explaining why it's true and doesn't give it any more value to the truth statement. So I could explain, like, it's really likely for me to believe that killing people is wrong, but that doesn't mean that killing people is wrong. Like, I could explain
Okay,
perfectly
yeah, on the fundamental basis, but like, why does that matter?
because you're trying to argue that realism is actually true rather than practical, and I would disagree with that. I would agree that it's practical, but I don't think it's actually true.
I wasn't arguing it's actually true. I don't think we could ever prove that it's true. I just think it's the most pragmatic way to think about and it is actually how we do think about like with a scientific method.
I think I would probably lean towards ontological idealism then, but that's a bit of a different thing. I mean, I think you could argue, so I think you can still be an idealist and still believe in a reality outside of human minds that exists, but argue that it is predicated off one mind or the absolute mind. And so, I mean, a lot of people people who are ontological idealists will be theists, and they'll say, look, God has these ideas about reality, and so reality is its foundational aspect is based off of God's idea about it, and so we are not the minds that create reality. God is, and we can still experience that reality, but ultimately God is like the mind that holds everything together.
I'm sorry if I'm like.
Is that monist then? Or would it be pluralist?
And you can kind of have both.
How do you have both?
I think that's monist, but you could have like some weird like pluralist ontological idealism. I think.
How?
Like if you believe there's multiple minds, multiple like absolute minds.
Or like multiple gods?
Yeah, kind of. But that'd be weird though.
Okay.
Is it like this one true being like implanted reality? Implanted reality into our minds. Is that what you're saying?
No, so like it would be like so an idealist idea is that cup's not actually there unless I'm perceiving it being there, right? And so it exists because I perceive it, right? That's
Yeah.
idealism. And then you could say that cup only exists because God is perceiving it, or this absolute is perceiving it. And so we can like kind of experience that as an objective reality. But in reality, like the actual truth is foundational nature is based on an idea in God's mind rather than an actual reality thing.
So is God the only thing that actually exists?
Yeah, you could argue that.
But then why is it? Why would God not just be like
No,
the
or
concept of
God
some other
and
being as
other
well?
minds. I think God and other minds.
So
Like
minds?
the tree falling, like when we don't like we haven't visualized that. Has that happened then?
Because
Yeah,
God has
visualized.
visualized that.
Okay, so that has happened.
I don't get how you can just justify that though. So like God's mind exists, but our whole objective reality doesn't.
Well, yeah, God's mind exists, and so our objective reality is an idea that's founded on God's mind. As in, like, imagine idealism, but from the point of view of God.
But like, I don't see how God's any different to us.
Because he's like the mind, like the creator of the universe. Like, as in, like, we didn't create the universe.
He's just a mind.
As in, I mean, it doesn't have to be God, but most people believe in it, do believe in God. I think
I would think you have to like justify the argument given God already.
I would argue that it's the most intellectually satisfying explanation for things.
I'd have to disagree, to be honest.
Oh, I guess we won't get along then. I mean, I don't know, like. Oh,
Because you're sort of implying that this one true mind is necessary existence, but you haven't really argued that.
as in,
Like, our experience of reality is contingent on this one mind,
yeah,
but his isn't. Theirs,
Yeah.
it's
because
isn't.
it's a necessary mind.
Okay.
But then your problem is with the concept of God, not with the concept
Yeah.
of the ideas.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. I
Yeah.
see.
Cousin, I think I'm not getting warm, by the way.
I
Is
think.
that realistic? If I drink it.
Is it actually warm? Or is it
That's
just
true, that's
Oh, that's a good one.
true.
and do you think,
I
like,
drink it. It might be wrong. That's all I'm saying.
if I
I'm
argue,
trying to get you to drink it, really.
I'm gonna drink it. Don't worry.
if I argue that all a fact is a true thought, and that the world is the totality of facts, then do you not think?
Yes,
Oh, is that
yes.
funny?
Yes.
It's not Wittgenstein, bro.
Then do you not think that if a fact is a true thought and the world is just a bunch of facts, then the world is a bunch of true thoughts, aka
Wait. Okay. What's your definition of truth, though?
it's indefinable. I would argue truth. You can't define truth, but truth is the norm of thinking, or like the normative aspects of thinking, which just means what we ought to aim at. So when I'm thinking, I should think true things, and I shouldn't think like not true things. So I should aim at being like rational and logical, etc., and not like jump to conclusions. But I think if you have a fact as a true thought, then it kind of lines up with ontological idealism a bit. I think if you have a fact as a true thought and the world as the totality of facts, then you have like, an idealist point of view. And I don't think you can ground a fact in reality.
Wait. So for a thought to be true, it doesn't have to line up with the reality, because the reality doesn't exist. It's just in our minds.
No. Well, for a thought to be true, it has to line up with the mind. I mean, that's how Frege put it.
The mind.
Frege,
So what-
Frege kind of said, a fact is a true thought. Facts. A scientist declares. That's one of his group. And he says, what is a fact? All a fact is a true thought. And it's only true when it lines up with the mind. And so he was a bit of an ontological.
How can we? Okay. So how can we ever know anything then? Like, what's even the point?
Well, I think
How are we meant to perceive the true mind? We can't have any true thoughts then.
because I think the true mind is rational, and so are we. And so if, let's say we're presented with data, and everyone in this room rationally comes to the same conclusion from that data, we would argue that that thing is true because it's not based on objective fact, because there's not like an objective thing about that makes it true. but it's not subjective because we haven't all disagreed on this thing. But it's kind of intersubjective, and the fact that we all rationally came to this idea makes it true.
And that's because of the true mind.
No, but that's because I think truth is like intrinsically related to rationality, and so we can only understand.
With what you just said, it's not just like truth just being a common consensus.
Yeah, but a common consensus of rationality in which there is a rational the mind, aka God, or something like that.
So you think we only come to this common consensus because the true mind placed rationality in all?
Or because we have a similar rationality to that mind, yeah.
What? Could I not just say that this rationality is just intrinsic to us?
Fine, and then if you forget the God, I still think you could have a fact as a true thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a horrible way to look at it. It's just like, wait, no, but without the God, how can you define a thought as being true?
Well, then I'd ask the same thing for someone who doesn't believe in God. What is truth if you don't believe in God? And most people will respond and say, yeah, but that doesn't even make any sense.
That doesn't. Okay. My perception of truth is the correspondence theory of truth, which is essentially like a proposition is true if it corresponds with the reality.
Okay.
How could that possibly be wrong?
So I think the ontology of the correspondence theory of truth again is quite high, and if we apply an Occam's razor, then you don't have to believe in a correspondence theory.
Just apply Occam's razor. That's quite
I said if we're applying Occam's razor. Okay, I would ask you then. We all believe in this room. We all believe it's a true fact that twice 2 makes 4.
Yeah.
Right. Where in reality is there this 2 in like an addition relation to another 2 that produces a 4? Where do we observe that in reality?
Well, maybe it's not reality or mind dependent. Maybe it's just like a predicate to the universe.
But then you're saying like when our observations or statements or propositions line up with reality, then they're true. How is your 2 + 2 = 4 lining up with reality?
It's lining up with the predicates of reality, which I guess it also comes under reality.
Where have you observed it lining up with reality though? Because you have to have observed it at some point, or like reach that conclusion through sense data.
When we discovered maths.
But we discovered math through rationality. Like maths is a rational process, and that's not grounded in reality. So I don't think you can have a correspondence theory of truth and then believe in things like maths, like 2 + 2 = 4, unless you commit to the existence of this world of the forms. Like
when we talk about truth, there's a different kind of truth. I'm talking about like the pragmatic truth that we use on day to day. But like obviously, under indirect realism, we can never access this like objective truth, which is like, yeah.
Well, I don't get what you mean, like pragmatic truth. But it doesn't sound that pragmatic if you can't believe in maths and you can't believe in like values and you can't believe in.
No, wait, okay.
It doesn't sound very pragmatic to me.
Okay, maths and these laws of concepts and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're predicates to the universe. That's a bit of a weird way of putting it. They're like objective truths, right? We can perceive
analytical truths. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, sure.
Fine. What if I made the statement? The man went to war. The man joined the army for the sake of the war, right? You can't really observe a sake. Like a sake isn't a thing in reality that you observe. But if you've got a correspondence theory of truth, for that statement to hold up as true, you've got to commit to the existence of sakes, which no one wants to do. And like your ontology is massive.
Why not?
Because a sake isn't a thing that exists, and it's not a thing you can observe. Way to think about
it. Can we ever know the truth of that statement, though?
No, but I think a better way to understand that is, I've got this thought: the man committed to the war for the man joined the army for the sake of the war. The way I understand that in my mind, aka the thought behind that sentence, can be true if as in fact it's a true thought. If the thought behind that statement, aka what I mean by that is the man joined the war so that he could help out and like do stuff because like he feels like he has a duty, blah blah blah. That's why like the sense behind the sentence, as Frege would put it. Then the sense or the thought behind the statement can be true without it having to line up with reality. And I don't think you have to commit to so many like random things like sakes and like floating twos.
I think like my like definition is kind of different. I don't think we can ever perceive real truth, but what we call truth is just like our perception of truth. It's not real truth.
So you don't think there's objective truth then?
There is, but we can't perceive it.
So where would you ground that objective truth then?
It's just
because
part of reality.
I can't make sense of truth without some kind of mind involved. What is truth without like the way we perceive things and how they like relate to things?
I'm like, okay, the groundwork for all of our knowledge, like and epistemic knowledge or whatever, like it's not actually based on objective truth, but our perception of that truth, which we call truth, but it's not actually truth.
I don't think so. It's mind dependent.
Yeah.
I don't think, I think
You have to edit that bit out.
I think like truth is an idea that is grounded on thinking and speaking and language and thoughts, right? If you don't have thought and you don't have language, you don't have truth. Because truth is the norm or the
All these things like thinking and language and stuff, I'm just saying it's based on this other idea of truth that
well,
we
then I
have.
think what you mean by truth is fact, and you should say that.
No, I don't.
But then, because what is truth without language? Like, truth is the norm of language. Like, that is how we understand truth is a proposition that is a fact is true. But you can't, like, a fact isn't just true in itself.
I think we don't actually have truth though, because we can't ever actually perceive it.
But then what, so you're saying there's this objective truth without language and without thought. That doesn't even make comprehensive sense to me. That's not a thing. Like, I think what you mean by that is a fact. There is, like, this reality out there. And, like, then we can't really actually get that, but we can get close. I think that's what
that's what I'm saying.
Fine, but then that's a fact. And I would
Okay,
say,
sure.
okay, fine, I don't think you can have facts grounded in reality.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
So then they're mind independent, because they're mind dependent, sorry, which is pretty idealist.
Yeah.
No, but like it does exist out there somewhere. We just can't perceive it.
As in, there is this fact, and we're never going to get close to it.
But it like influences the groundwork for the facts.
So you are saying that there is a fact in reality.
Yes.
I don't think you can have that. Because let's say the cat is on the mat. That's a fact, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's a fact. You have a cat, a mat. As in, there's a cat and there's a mat and there's a relation on, right? And so Bertrand Russell had this whole thing, like, to say the cat is on the mat is to say there exists some x such that x is a cat and x is on the mat, right? And so you've got the relation on and the cat and the mat. But then without the way we're thinking about the cat on the mat, like without the way we comprehend that, the sense behind the sentence, all you have is just a set of things. You have a cat and a relation on and a mat. But you don't actually have the fact. Like, I think the fact only comes into play when you bring in the way we understand that.
I don't think we can ever have the fact, but I do think it exists in reality. Is what I'm saying.
I don't think you can have. I don't think you can argue that it exists. I don't think it makes any sense to say it exists in reality.
Wait, hang on. You use Russell's cat, but Russell's cat is indirect realist.
Yeah, no, but I'm just trying to
So
say
you just argued for our side.
no, because I'm saying Russell got it wrong.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying I don't think you can ground facts in purely objective things. Like Russell, I mean, this is a bit of an appeal to authority. 1904, Russell comes up with this theory, and then 1910 he abandons it.
Because he changed his mind.
1910 he abandons it, and he tries again, and then 1912 he abandons it, and he tries
Well,
again.
maybe I'm just smart.
And then 1913 he abandons it and tries again, and then 1919 he abandons it and tries again, and he gives up. Because it's so hard for him to ground facts in objective reality. It is a bit of an appeal to authority, but he fails to do it.
Well, I'm not saying we can prove it. I'm just saying like that's how we
That's how we
ground
act.
our reality,
That's how we act.
ground our lives. Yeah.
And that's how we act.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I
the
don't
point
disagree
was
with
that
that.
Russell didn't have deductive proof,
Yeah.
but he just said that this was the best hypothesis.
No, but
And the onus is on the skeptic to actually prove that a mind-independent world is like indefensible.
I don't think that's. I think the actual reason he gave up was because he couldn't ground facts in reality, and he ran into like loads of problems. Like one of the problems is the one I explained, but like another one is there's a meaningful statement, something like the moon is made of cheese. Like it's that's a meaningful statement, right? And we can understand what that means. But there's no moon and it's not made of cheese. And so, what is the difference between a true proposition or a false proposition? They're all relations and objects and things in reality. There's no distinguisher, and like that's just another one of the problems he came into. But like. I don't think it doesn't make any sense to me to have facts as these things that are mind independent. Like the only way you can understand facts is is through the lens of thought. I think that's kind of my argument.
Yeah, but I don't see how that doesn't mean that there is a an objective truth that we just can't experience.
I still don't know what you mean by like an objective. What do you mean, bro? I feel like we're going in circles now.
Yeah, kind of.
Should we do something else? Haven't got any more points.
Georgie?
Well, we could talk about John Locke.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Cousin?
So I think we're saying like John Locke, he had these primary, what they call.
Oh, primary qualities and secondary
Primary,
qualities. Yeah, that's to do with direct and indirect realism, though.
Right. Kind of debunked that one already.
yeah, we can't come to that.
Trying to go over here for any questions.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Have you got any questions?
John Locke, who did he play for?
Ooh.
I can't say I've heard him. I can't say I've heard him. Sorry.
But they argue for Berkeley, so we can only attack.
I wasn't
Berkeley,
gonna
don't bring it up.
wasn't gonna go down that line. I was coming back to that glass of milk there.
Oh, yeah.
If it's supposed to exist, right?
Okay.
and we can all see the same thing, then it exists. Yeah?
Okay.
If we can't see it, we're supposed to be arguing that it still exists, and we're supposed to be arguing that it doesn't exist because we can't see it.
Yeah.
But they can. Whether you can see it or not, you're saying that it exists, right? And we're saying, well, we can't see it now. What about if we feel it but we can't see it? Does that exist?
That's still like sensory.
So anything,
like receptors.
anything that's sensory is good enough to prove that it exists. Yeah?
No.
But if we're
No,
not
we're
feeling
saying
it,
no.
we're
We're saying no.
saying we can't. So if we can't,
We don't know that's a glass of milk from.
if I touch it,
from just
if I touch it,
from just like a sensory.
so if I touch it, we're basically saying that we can feel a glass. We know that there's a glass there because I'm feeling it.
We don't know it's a
We
glass.
know there's milk in it.
We don't know it's a glass. We know that there's a thing that's
An
affecting.
object.
We know that some things are affecting our sensory receptors,
Right. Okay.
making us think that there is a glass.
Okay. I'm on their side.
Yes.
I just wanted to clear that up. That's all.
It's not clear.
Hold that bench.
Well, this is a difficult side to argue, I promise. I'd much rather be on that side.
You can't prove there's a glass.
Space.
No, you're right.
If
I can't prove
someone
there's a glass.
told
Yes,
you
that's
there's
what we're going with
glass,
proof.
but you couldn't
So you're
see
going off something there's no proof of.
We don't claim to
Would
prove
you
it's
need
a
to
glass.
see it?
That's a thought.
Would you need to see it and
See
feel
Yeah, I
it?
probably would.
No.
Because that could be
Because
class. That could be
That's
class.
all purely sensory. So we're saying everything's purely mind dependent. It depends on our mind
Basic.
Oh, I think that's. Oh, would you believe it?
receiving the
So if I told you
sensory
that there's a football down there,
effects
would you
of
believe
the, of the glass of
I
milk.
think it depends on the
There's so much
character.
One of those yellow footballs, the foam ones.
I think too logically.
No.
I can see the mirror.
That stuffed me right up.
He's been
I
stuffed
think
right
too
up.
logically, and I can't sit on this side. This
Yeah.
side is. If you've got a logical brain, this is a very difficult side to sit on.
Yeah, this is a common.
Yeah, but I feel like you're
He's
more
doing,
sort of
he's
like.
doing very well.
Because
So-
idealism makes unsubstantiated leaps of logic.
Oh!
Wait.
What was-
Realism makes the whole massive
what was that?
induction that idealism doesn't. Whoa.
Yeah.
Hold on a sec.
No, that's
Hold on a minute. Realism is like, oh, we're gonna make all these random inductions, like, oh, trust me, they're true. Idealism is like, no, we don't know that's true, and we're just being humble in that. Like, realism is making more of an inductive leap than idealism is.
Yeah, no, but the whole point is that there's no deductive proof on either side,
Yeah,
and we just need to take like the best hypothesis. We just need to take which one is the most like
most practical.
exactly.
Well, I'll
Aligned
argue
with common
indirect
sense.
realism or ontological idealism are most practical, but transcendental idealism is a bit stupid, I think, and probably wouldn't act like that. So fair enough.
Anyone trying to talk about solipsism?
Solipsism.
Yeah, that.
We can do. It collapses into it. That's what idealism does.
In a way,
It
it
collapses
does.
into solipsism,
If you're like a true idealist, then you would,
and that sort of undermines the whole point.
or like if you're like the most, what's the word?
Pure.
Yeah, the most pure, like I think the most completely purely rational framework is solipsism, which is the idea that the only thing I can know for certain exists is my mind.
Wait, so you're saying it's rational
It's the most rational.
because everybody says it's irrational.
No, it's the most. It's it kind of depends on my rational. I think it's the most.
Well,
it's
you're
the
the one
most-
that used it.
Fine. It's the most logically. It's the
Maybe
most.
depends, yeah, go
It's
on.
the most logically consistent model. Like you can't. It's solipsism is purely rational. You can't argue against a solipsist.
You can't, but the whole point of idealism is that it's meant to be the more convincing account of perception because it avoids skepticism. But idealism or
Solipsism
idealism,
means skepticism.
exactly. It's
But-
literally epistemological skepticism.
So that's why.
you collapse
I would
into it.
reject. I would reject solipsism and accept idealism.
Then why
instead.
did you bring it up?
Huh?
Why
Well,
did
he
you
just
bring
wanted
the
to-
solipsism up?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay. But you're arguing for the same team,
Bring
so.
Yeah, we haven't really conferred that much. I mean, I think.
I just mentioned it really.
I think
didn't say it.
solipsism.
Just throw it out there.
See what happens.
I mean, I think solipsism is the most defensible point. You can't argue against a solipsist. Like,
No, I'm saying, yeah, granted it's
But it's
defensible,
completely
it completely
impractical.
undermines
Well, I
it.
don't know why
It
solipsists
undermines the
would
whole
argue
point of
against you.
idealism.
I disagree.
Because no, but the whole point of idealism is it was meant to be the most convincing account. But if solipsism means that there's no other minds other than yourself, it's meant to like idealism was invented to avoid skepticism, but solipsism is literally skepticism.
I think that works for transcendental idealism. I would probably reject transcendental idealism, but I
Okay.
don't think that implies for ontological idealism.
So why does it avoid?
Because So transcendental idealism still believes there's a world out there.
Well, that's what indirect realism.
Yeah, but it kind of believes it's this like kind of fake world. Like we don't really know what it is.
Okay, so it's like
There may be a
realism,
world out there, is what transcendental idealism
like a
is.
metaphysical world out there.
Yeah,
Like, it's a
there-
possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
But indirect realism is saying that there is a like metaphysical world out there.
So it's just like,
What?
so it's just the possibility. So is the only thing that we're disagreeing on is the possibility of the existence of an external world, or like
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the only difference between transcendental
just there might be
idealism
whether
and
there
indirect
is
realism.
definitively is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Will, do you have anything?
No, I'm done.
Anything to add over here?
Do I?
Oh,
Well, I think it was a good talk today, guys.
Yeah.
Anyone want to do conclusion?
Daniel, take it away, Daniel. Take it away.
To conclude,
It's two sides of the same coin here. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you guys
watching,
for
guys.
Thank you.
Tune in next
See you
week.
soon.
Next week.
I don't know. I said that.
Probably not.